Reseda. Returning to the tournament, we have Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai isn't just Kai.
Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai.
It's Cobra Kai.
That's what I call an entrance and a badass name for a dojo. Let's hear it for Cobra Kai.
I love Cobra Kai, and from the reviews and feedback from the show, it seems like everybody else loves that as well. How could you not though? It's witty, funny, and a perfect homage to the original series. And with the virus slowing down the editing and post-production of the show, and YouTube selling the rights for the show, so the new season can premiere on Netflix, we might not be getting a third season until fall of 2020, and with me on the edge of my seat waiting for even a release date to drop, I think it's perfect time for me to talk about the masterpiece that is Cobra Kai. If you saw my Scream 1 review, you might remember that I said that I was nervous when I heard that MTV was picking up the mantle of the Scream series due to their previous productions, and even though YouTube definitely has had a lot of bad produced content as well, I knew the moment they were able to get Ralph Macchio and William Zabka to sign on that the show was going to be great. Even with the 2-star leads though, it's been a long time since we've seen them in a Karate Kid movie. William Zabka was only in the first one, and Ralph Macchio hasn't been the lead in a Karate Kid film since the third installment in '89. Sure, we've seen them pop up in roles like How I Met Your Mother or Psycho for Ralph Macchio making 3 separate appearances, but other than that, I haven't seen these actors in much else. But they excel in the roles, just like they did in '84. This show was able to kick Karate Kid 2, 3, Next Generation, and the remake all down below it in the order of the best Karate Kid stories in just the first season, even though it was really just competing with Karate Kid Part 2 and 3. And they do this by giving the actors a beautifully crafted script that subverts the audience's expectations in the best ways possible, giving you witty and funny dialogue that's honestly too good to be in a YouTube TV show, fight scenes that are not only choreographed well, but shot with just as much care so you can see what's actually happening, and characters who grow so naturally to the world of this show that they feel real. The first season worked so well in my opinion because they took the original movie and flipped the script, as Sensei Lawrence would say, though they did it in a way that makes sense in the world that they originally built. The best example of subverting our expectations is by switching the roles of Daniel and Johnny, not just by making them teachers now from the lessons that they learned as students, but by switching the places of their roles altogether. Back in 1984, Daniel was the one who was poor, living in Reseda, struggling with his single mother. Daniel was the outcast of the places he went, not Johnny. Johnny was the one with the money from his mommy and daddy, or at least stepdaddy. He had that motorbike in his car, but he was also loved around the school and respected in the karate community. They were complete opposites of each other. And the biggest thing that kept them so different from each other wasn't their personality, because it's a lot more alike than you might think. Daniel and Johnny are both hotheads who fall off track and lose focus sometimes. It's in their teachers and life lessons, though, that their mentors taught them that strayed them on such different paths. With Daniel, he is able to become friends with his mentor in the time of his life that he needed the most, and that 2 years that Daniel spent with Mr. Miyagi before going off to college, he taught Daniel how to become a man. Mr. Miyagi gave Daniel not only life skills with the handiwork he gave to him, but life lessons as well with the values he taught.
Oh, wow.
You're the best friend I ever had.
You pretty okay too.
Think about it, Mr. Miyagi even sparked Daniel's love for cars, which is why Daniel is now a car salesman, and a successful one at that, who owns his own lot, or a passion and respect for the Okinawa culture that he passes on to a generation of kids. Now let's look at Johnny, who was with John Kreese, his mentor, for what looks like his entire high school career, and the only life lessons we know Kreese ever taught Johnny was how to strike first and strike hard, because John wasn't making men, he wasn't even teaching boys, he was training soldiers, ones who would show no mercy like they were in war every second of their life. And when Johnny loses that tournament in '84 to LaRusso, he sees how twisted his sensei is when Kreese breaks his second place trophy and starts to choke him. After that incident, Johnny leaves Cobra Kai, and without his mentor or real father figure ever in his life, he loses all focus and travels the path like his sensei did, alone. The whole Karate Kid series is built on father figures, and Johnny never knew his real dad. His stepdad neglected him when it came to anything non-materialistic, and his sensei abused him verbally and physically. It's no wonder he can't be a father to his own son, and only learns how to be a better person from learning to be a father himself through the efforts of Miguel. And we get to see where these two paths led them when the show starts and we see the present day. Daniel is now the well-respected one inside and outside the karate community due to the success and wealth that his family has been able to accumulate. Daniel is now the one in the house in Encino with the two loving parents because he makes sure his kids don't have to go through what he did. Johnny, on the other hand, now lives in a crummy apartment in Reseda like Daniel did, with a busted car and a child with no father, because he's never learned the responsibility to nurture and teach like Daniel did. Johnny is washed up as the leaves he cleans from people's gutters now. Not only is it a new and fresh perspective on a classic story, but also makes sense within the world and characters, and isn't just used as shock value of how left-turn these characters are from their original movie counterparts. And even though Johnny is the main character now, this doesn't mean that Daniel doesn't get as much time to shine. And they make Daniel and Johnny amazing here. Daniel might be the Karate Kid, but that doesn't mean he is perfect. From the first film, we see how much of a hothead Daniel is and how much of a dick he can be when he starts acting out. That's always been his biggest character flaw, and that flaw carries out throughout the entire first season.
I speak for all of us when I say the community could use more men like you, Mr. Lawrence.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, this is horse shit. This guy was the biggest bully in my high school, and he hasn't changed at all.
Like when Daniel and Tom, another top-tier car salesman, get into an argument and the guy starts to make fun of Daniel, so he kicks his drink. Or when Daniel finds out that Cobra Kai is reopened and he manipulates the person who rents the shop to raise the rent in the strip mall Cobra Kai is located at. Though in doing this to screw Johnny over, he screws over every other shop in the strip mall. It's these kind of irrational angry bursts that Daniel has that make sense due to his character's past, as well as no longer having his mentor figure in his life to guide him. It's why when Robbie King comes along, Daniel's able to find his own balance again while teaching Robbie. And they make Johnny perfect in Cobra Kai. He is this out-of-touch loser who was stuck in the 80s with his mindset and his way of living. Hell, he is still driving the same car he had in the 84 movie, though now it's all beaten up and out of its prime. The car itself is just a great representation of the person Johnny has now become. Johnny and Daniel have always been each other's foil characters, but I love how the show highlights how Daniel's progressed in more ways than one, while Johnny hasn't evolved at all. You get scenes where Johnny is ignorant towards other cultures, if meaning to or not.
I really like these bananas.
They're called plantains.
Oh. In English, we call them bananas. What's so funny?
Or just by being sexist because he's stuck in this 80s alpha male headspace. He even describes a woman's body the way you would describe a bird's.
Don't give me this sexist bullshit, right? I'm just saying women aren't meant to fight. They have tiny, hollow bones.
But it's in this cliche 80s mindset of being a badass makes you man is what sparks Johnny's passion and makes him want to bring that mindset to what he sees as a generation of pussies. And though Johnny is the sensei of these kids, they teach him as much as he teaches them. This responsibility of mentoring these kids really puts him in perspective how he raised his own. Miguel serves as a surrogate son to Johnny, and we see how Johnny plants this seed of confidence and aggression into Miguel as a way to teach him to grab life by the horns. But just like with his self-revelation with Robbie, he realizes how he is steering his students wrong by the end of the season, and the lessons and the moral he has learned on the way makes Johnny want to change so these kids don't make the same mistakes that he did. You can imagine what Daniel would be like as a teacher, kind, supportive, and trying his best to teach that karate comes from the mind, the soul, but never the body. Daniel teaches about balance and peace while still learning a thing or two about it on his own. On the other hand, you can imagine what Johnny would be like as a teacher, and you get exactly that.
Shit. Drowning is for pussies, all right? Don't be a pussy. Use your legs.
And even though Johnny and Daniel are more or less still the same than they were 30 years ago, it's in the students of the new Cobra Kai Miyagi-Do that they switched up. Miguel's our other lead for the show next to Johnny, and Miguel is a mirror reflection of Daniel's character from the first movie, maybe even a little more confident and definitely a lot more happy than Daniel ever was at the start. Miguel is the new kid who is less fortunate than the other kids living in an apartment in Reseda just like Daniel did, but instead of finding a quiet, wise old man down the hall, Miguel finds a loudmouth, drunk asshole named Johnny Lawrence who tells Miguel not to talk to him ever again.
For over 10 years. Pipes don't work, fountain's full of piss. The only good thing about being here is I don't have to talk to anybody. So nice knowing you. Okay. Well, have a nice day, I guess.
Johnny doesn't even care to help Miguel when Miguel gets jumped by Kyler and the rest of his goons in the first episode. He only intervenes because the group starts tossing Miguel in his car, and when they piss him off too much, he doesn't even start attacking them in a way of self-defense or to protect Miguel, but simply just to hurt them for being assholes as Johnny describes.
Hey! Watch your car, man. Who's this dude? Just leave the dork alone. What? See this guy? Eating his dinner at the mini-mart like a bum? Wait, I think I know this guy. He's the jerk-off that cleaned my dad's septic tank.
Oh, that explains why he smells like shit.
Trust me, you guys are pissing off the wrong guy on the wrong day, all right?
Oh, really?
Really.
Get the hell out of here, loser.
Johnny only learns to help Miguel as a way to show him not to be such a pussy and learn to strike his problems first and to strike them hard. It's such a beautiful contrast to Mr. Miyagi saving Daniel and using karate for defense only. By giving the nice, innocent, fish-out-of-water character to the crude, out-of-touch, aggressive mentor, it gives a whole new dynamic that equals to the one in Daniel and Mr. Miyagi, and this dynamic really helps Miguel learn to stand up for himself much faster than Daniel ever did. Sure, Miguel gets jumped by Kyler and his goons in the first episode, but by the time the Halloween dance comes around, Miguel attacks Kyler head on in the locker room after the goons find Miguel eavesdropping on how Kyler almost got Miguel's crush, Sam, to give Kyler head. And even Daniel has pulled his prize prank on Johnny by turning on the shower hose before making a dash not only out of the bathroom, but out of the school, unlike Miguel. And this impulsive reaction doesn't go well for Miguel, since Kyler always has his goons with him, and it becomes a 4-on-1 fight that mirrors the Halloween jumping from the original, but this time there is nobody to save Miguel, so when Johnny finds him in the locker room, he finds him beaten and unconscious. From the very first fight scene, we could see how unconfident, unskilled Miguel was with conflict, first trying to apologize and keep his comments to himself for the most part, but now we see he's confident enough to deal with the conflict, just not skilled enough, and we really do get to see the mindset Miguel is in when we hear him scream that Cobra Kai never dies, even after his beaten self has been brought back to his house with his mom in tears that somebody did this to her little boy. And then in episode 5, we see Miguel stand up for Sam right before she fights Kyler about him spreading lies about her giving head, labeling her a slut apparently. Even though the show came out in 2018, 16-year-olds these days were doing a lot more than just that. And personally, when Kyler goes to punch Miguel, Miguel catches it, only to give the badass line about Cobra Kai before decking Kyler in the face, is one of the most satisfying scenes I've ever watched on television. The whole lunchroom fight is one of my favorite scenes in the first season, and it's the main reason Cobra Kai fills up with students so fast after they see what Miguel can do.
Hey, Kyler! Why don't you shut the hell up and stop being such an asshole?
You want another beatdown, Rhea? I'm ready for your lame-ass karate this time.
It's not lame-ass karate. It's Cobra Kai.
Well, I do have some issues with Kyler as a whole. For one, I don't know if he's supposed to be portrayed as a badass of the school, since I guess him and his friends are the most popular ones, but I just don't see it. Kyler's always picking on their kids and always fighting Miguel, but Kyler only does it with 3 other goons. And I know Kyler's only supposed to be a secondary antagonist to Miguel, but I think they could have done him better, since Kyler was an internal conflict for Miguel with him learning to stand up for himself, but Kyler is also an external threat to Miguel due to Kyler being the first boyfriend of Sam, Miguel's crush, as well as the daughter of Daniel LaRusso himself. I think this is a perfect moment to talk about the love subplots in the first season, because for everything I think they developed so well throughout the first season, this was not one of them. I know I'm not supposed to enjoy the fact that Kyler and Sam are together in the first 4 episodes, but they try to slut-shame Samantha for allegedly just giving Kyler head. Again, it was 2018 when this show came out, and even if she did give him head, which she didn't, at 16 that's quite normal, and I don't understand why everybody makes such a big deal out of it. Kyler's okay for receiving head from multiple women, but Sam is slut-shamed for allegedly doing it with her boyfriend. It might be a nitpick, but this bothered me as much as Audrey getting shamed for being caught making out of Rachel in the Scream series, when we are in a much more progressive time than I feel that some of these shows portray. But this is exactly why Miguel stands up for Kyler and ultimately himself, as when he beats all 4 of them in the cafeteria, which also gets Sam to notice Miguel a lot more than she did before. And while Miguel is the only one to show her some respect around the school after the alleged rumors spread around, she gets closer to him to the point where he wants to ask her out. And even though this is the next logical step in the relationship, I think they took this step a little too late. Miguel wanted to ask Sam out by the 2nd episode, but it takes until the 7th episode to get to that point, though I will say we do get a very funny scene of him asking Johnny how to ask out a girl.
Well, there's a girl at school.
She hot?
And she's super smart.
Hot?
Funny and cool.
Hot?
Yes, she's hot, super hot.
Nice.
I think you'd really like her. She likes karate, and I mean, I want to ask her out, but I just don't know.
Don't know. What's there to think about? She's hot and all those other things.
Well, yeah, but what if she says no?
Never accept defeat, Diaz. There is no no.
Pretty sure no means no.
Yeah, if things are getting physical, no means no. But if you're just asking her out, you're a Cobra Kai. All the babes want to date a Cobra Kai.
And the 2 of them do have a fun date scene, which is a nice homage to the original of Daniel and Allie with an eye going out. But again, I love how the show has homages and fan service that also works within the story you're telling now. Miguel didn't just take Sam here randomly, he takes her because of Johnny's advice, to which Sam also loves the date due to Daniel taking her all the time when she was young. The whole sequence can be a little cringy with Sam messing with Miguel mini
Nothing you can do.
But I think overall it's a very cute scene. At the end of the day, definitely made Miguel jizz his pants
Then
a
you
little
want
bit.
that arm out, yeah? There you go. Then you kind of want a position.
You wanna put your hands on my hips?
No. No, I'm correcting your stance. Look, this move is really hard, so if you don't get it on the first time, don't feel bad. Holy shit, Sam, that was amazing. What do you... Oh.
Sensei Sam.
But then we head into episode 8, just one episode later, where Miguel starts to get jealous that he hasn't been invited to Sam's house yet, and her parents don't know about him. But to me, he shouldn't have this reaction. They were planning their second date when Daniel asked Sam who she was talking to, and she responded with just a lap partner while holding her laptop down, because she didn't want her dad to make a big deal about her dating a Cobra Kai, but Miguel takes it so badly. And I just don't understand why, when it looks like they've only been hanging out for a week at most, but I guess that's just high school drama. Episode 9, Miguel confronts her about this issue while being kind of aggressive, but then does try to apologize when calling her about a party the Cobra Kais are having. The catch is she's in trouble, so her mom took her phone away and she can't answer Miguel, which now makes Miguel think that she's ignoring him. Next thing we know, she's able to sneak out the assistance of Robbie, who is at their house training with Daniel, so decides to help Sam head to the party. At this point though, Miguel is drunk, jealous, and when he sees her walking towards him with Robbie, he is pissed and starts to attack Robbie, only to accidentally hit Sam though. This moment's a big turning point for the relationship. They still haven't healed the wound that this created for them, at the time of recording this at least, but for me it's just not earned. Daniel spends so much time with Alif and I in the 84 movie, while Miguel has one lab partner scene with her, asking her out scene, date scene, and then after that we go to the scene of him starting to sabotage his own relationship. And I understand what the showrunners are doing, because it seemed like Johnny's off again, on again relationship with Alif and I was due to his own sabotage of his relationship as well. But it's also established they were dating for like 2 to 3 years. Kyler spends more episodes together with Samantha than Miguel, making it feel forced, which is not something Cobra Kai feels 99% of the time. Though this more angry and aggressive person that's shown when Miguel is drunk could possibly just be a glimpse of who he can become under the tutelage of Cobra Kai, especially when confronted with somebody like Robbie, but we'll get back to that. Now I want to talk about some of the other students, how they flipped the whole script on the Cobra Kai dojo by having this new set of students, nothing like Kreese's army of soldiers who showed no mercy, who showed no weakness when it came to pain, and now they're just a bunch of losers who can barely stand up for themselves, and most of them have never even taken a punch before. And how does somebody like Sensei Johnny fix an issue like this?
So there's only one solution, and that is before you leave this dojo, each and every one of you is going to take a punch very hard to the face. Miss Robinson, line them up. Unflinch this group.
Yes, Sensei.
No longer is the room full of badasses, which is perfect to me. They even added girls to the class by Aisha, former best friend of Sam's, turned to one of Miguel's best friends once the high school social hierarchy kicked in, who was actually the second student in Johnny's Cobra Kai, as well as one of the top 3 fighters in his class for the first season. She struggles a lot with her weight and her confidence problems, which is why she decides to join Cobra Kai in the first place. Her arc is generic, but you're glad to see her gain confidence as she learns to stand up for herself, which she only does in my opinion because she believes as a Cobra Kai she can overcome anything once she sees Miguel. You can see how happy she is in episode 5 when Miguel and Kyler are fighting. Aisha does make friendly with one of the bullies, that being Moon, while getting her revenge on the main mean girl of the school, and Aisha gets her revenge by giving the mean girl a wedgie with her panties.
You're just a fugly bitch and your friends are all freaks.
Hey, Yasmin!
Huh? What?
Let me help you to your car. No mercy, bitch!
And I still don't know how I feel about that, because even though I can accept it for what it is still a very cringy moment with an even cringier moment following it when Sam and Aisha make up somewhat in the last episode of the season.
All I know is, after that front wedgie, she's never gonna live that down.
You saw that?
It's all over YouTube. You really tore her a new vagina?
But I just couldn't see a wedgie happening in a Karate Kid movie. But then again, this is a series with dialogue like,
"Must be take a worm for a walk week."
And I feel like a character like Dimitri is needed for the show. Not only does he keep the rest of the characters grounded when they're taken too seriously, but he's the voice of reason and the voice of the nerd, the loser, the outcast like the rest of us.
What kind of girl will ever kiss this shit?
Lip, look, even Lip's tougher than those guys. He's no quitter.
Could you please not call me that?
Excuse me, what?
I said, could you please not call me that?
I'll warm him up, Sensei.
No. Lip has something he wants to say. It's all right, speak up, Lip. Or is your tongue messed up too? Are you one of those challenged kids?
The doctor said I could be on the spectrum.
I don't know what that is, but get off it pronto, all right? And if you don't want me to call you Lip, then don't have a weird lip. Can't you get surgery for that?
I was born with a cleft lip. This is the scar from the surgery.
You mean it was worse before that? Or did the doctor just screw up? Because if this is the after photo, then that sucks, man. You should sue.
Can we just...
But after Johnny tells Eli that if he doesn't want to be known as Lip anymore, he has to flip the script, and that's exactly what Eli does. He comes in the next session with a blue mohawk, which left me and my twin with the exact same expression as Johnny.
Welcome to Cobra Kai.
Eli, what happened? I'm flipping the script.
Wait, you the kid with the lip? Nice cut, bro. You see that? Doesn't matter if you're a loser or a nerd or a freak. All that matters is that you become badass.
After this, Eli is no longer Lip, but instead Hawk. Hawk then becomes the second best fighter in class, maybe third next to Aisha, as well as becoming the most aggressive and cocky in the group, the Dutch of the group, you can say.
Dude, he is so hot.
And even though Eli's character dies and is turned into Hawk after the 5th episode mark, it's more than a clear transformation. If you were made fun of your entire life by everybody and then gained the ability to kick every one of those people's asses, you'd be consumed by that ability as well.
Get it. You shave half your hair, get a tattoo, and just like that, everything changes.
Let me let you in a little secret. It's not just a haircut or the back tattoo. It's a way of life, man. You just gotta feel the energy and just live in the moment, you know?
And even though Hawk is now clearly a top fighter of the show, it doesn't mean they still take the concept of the character all too seriously. They even have Dimitri, Eli's best friend, be the voice of reason for the cast.
I gotta do something.
All right, how about we kidnap her and have my boy Rico tattoo bitch on her face?
Calm down, Hawk.
All right, I hear how you're saying it, and I don't like it.
Wait.
And I think characters like Dimitri were needed, not just to keep the rest of the group grounded when taken too seriously, but because he's the only normal one that the audience can relate to, especially to the less popular crowd. It's nice to see in Season 2 when you see him become a vital part of the karate subplots, but until then he's just there to be a beautiful contrast to Miguel, but more to Hawk. You get to see how Dimitri envies Hawk for his new sense of self-confidence, and how he wishes he could strike hard and strike fast, but that's just not Dimitri. Just look the way the guy attempts to talk to a girl.
I saw on your Facebook it's your birthday.
Happy birthday!
Sorry if I'm bothering you. I don't normally converse with the opposite sex. Well, except for my mom. Even then, it's a bit intimidating.
No matter how seriously they take some of the members though, there's no doubt the showrunners let all the Cobra Kais grow. Aisha is able to stand up to herself to a bully because of Cobra Kai, something that she was never able to do before. Eli is able to gain confidence, even if a little overconfident, and Miguel is able to grow into a man, and this because Johnny only wants what's best for his students, even if he learns a little too late.
My Cobra Kai is different. It's a place where kids can come and feel like they belong. Where they won't get picked on just because they're a bunch of losers, but because they're unique. I've watched firsthand as my students have gotten stronger, gained confidence, learn how to stand up for themselves. Cobra Kai is making a difference in these kids' lives. And honestly, they're making a difference in mine as well.
Finn, and no, I'm not a licensed teacher, but I have been touched by your kids. And I'm pretty sure I've touched them. What?
Oh my God!
The final character they subvert our expectations with is Robbie Keene, Johnny's son who he walked out on, and Robbie is kind of who you expect a child who is raised in a less than wealthy father's home without the guidance of a good mother to become troubled. It's by having Robbie start working with Daniel at his dealership and eventually start to train with Daniel too that subverts our expectations. Now we have Johnny's son being Daniel's pupil, which was orchestrated by Robbie as a way to get back at his dad for taking Miguel under his wing, but later on grows to care and respect the Lusso family much more than Robbie ever cared about his own. And I like Robbie's character a lot. I think he works well with Daniel and the conflict he brings to the show is entertaining, but from the very start of the show they try to make Robbie seem like a badass. He gets caught with ecstasy at his school in the first introduction, and we learn that he usually skips school to go rob people and do drugs with his friends.
I put my kid on the phone.
What do you want?
Robbie, what the hell? You doing drugs?
I don't know if they were trying to make Robbie seem badass by today's standards by making him a skater boy who smokes weed all day, but to me he's more of a loser than Miguel, Dimitri, and Eli combined. At least they were in school just living normal teenage lives with a future ahead of them. Plus, Robbie doesn't even look that badass when he's wearing his elbow and knee pads like all real badasses do while skateboarding. That never made sense to me. Robbie doesn't care if he gets caught with MDMA at school, but he won't skateboard without his safety gear. Though this rough, unsupervised lifestyle is what makes Robbie bounce off so well against Daniel though, because just like Daniel back in senior year, Robbie needs a father figure in his life more than ever. And that's what I love about the show. The writers know that The Karate Kid is a coming-to-age story about the male mentor figures and the lessons they teach to help kids grow into their own. The show is the story of who Johnny and Daniel are now, and who Miguel, Robbie, and the rest of the students can become. And they really do come into their own. Like, Robbie starts out as part of a little gang, I guess you can say, whatever that is. Likes to rob people, and only joins LaRusso's dealership and dojo for selfish reasons, only to become the spitting image of what a man truly is by the end of the season. And he does this with the kind lessons and discipline given by Daniel. And just like Daniel, Robbie always doesn't see the point of the lessons, but that's what Daniel was hoping for.
God, I love this part. Show me, watch the windows. Hike! Hike! Show me, wax on, wax off. Hike! Hike! Hikes!
Whoa.
I will say, like Kyler and his goons, I don't find Robbie's two crime buddies that threatening either. They seem dumb, uncoordinated, and not skilled enough to win an actual fight. So it was shocking to me when Robbie loses the fight to them near the end of the 7th episode after not helping them try to steal from Daniel's dealership. Luckily, the cameras around the dealership drove them away. Though I never questioned it during the show, Daniel must be one hell of a teacher because Miguel starts his training in the 2nd episode while Robbie starts his training near the end of the 6th episode, but by the 10th episode they are both fighting with the same level of skill. I guess Mr. Miyagi was right about quality over quantity. Now, a big part of Robbie's character is to set up a love triangle between him, Samantha, and Miguel. Robbie only meets Samantha after he started dating Miguel, and that's already pretty late in the show. Then as Robbie starts to train at Daniel's house more and more, he gets to talking to Samantha, which is why Miguel gets jealous when he sees Robbie over for dinner, not knowing he's there because of Daniel, not Samantha, at least at first. And I kind of like this about Robbie's character. You can tell he has feelings for her even if he doesn't want to admit it yet. And even though he is the wedge that gets in between Miguel and Samantha's relationship, Sam is the one who shoves her right in there. To me, she could have been a little more upfront about Robbie to Miguel. She seemed hesitant to talk about Robbie at the family dinner at her own place for no reason. And we all know that the hill they walk on, Robbie helps Samantha escape her house to the Cobra Kai party, was not steep enough that Robbie had to hold on to her hand. And then she gets mad at Miguel when he gets upset at what he's seen. This is more of a shining flaw on Samantha's part than Robbie's. And I understand Miguel was more in the wrong to hit Sam by accident, even though that was the weirdest looking punch I've ever seen. But what I don't understand is how she gets mad at Miguel for trying to fight at all. As she says,
"It was an accident. I wasn't trying to hit you."
You shouldn't have been trying to hit anyone.
You bring some dude to the party the other night and expect me to be okay with that?
I expect you to act like a normal person.
But if I remember correctly, not only was she in shock and awe that Miguel, her knight in shining armor, stood up to Kyler for her in front of the whole school, but she was literally about to fight Kyler herself. And if she was training from Miyagi-Do, it did not look like she was going to wait for Kyler to throw the first punch.
You know that billboard with a big ass dick on it? I guess Sam takes after her dad.
Hey, Kyler.
No matter what though, this incident broke up Miguel and Samantha while recreating the relationship with Daniel and Johnny with Robbie and Miguel. Miguel and Robbie's conflict really stems from Robbie knowing that Miguel has been taken under his father's wing, and even though Miguel might not know Robbie is Johnny's son at this point, Miguel's blind and irrational jealousy create his own issues with Robbie. Even with these issues though, their conflict seems to be a spark compared to the gas fire of conflict between their senseis, which is just how it should be. Daniel and Johnny haven't seemed to let anything go from the past 30 years. Even after all this time, Johnny is mad he lost the fight, and even though Daniel seems like he's let the past go, his cocky, smug attitude while in character suggests he's just as tied up in the past as Johnny. The conflict with the Russo family doesn't stop there either, when Sam and her friends accidentally hit Johnny's Firebird, only for his car to then be torched by Daniel's cousin without Daniel's knowledge, when Vinny thinks that Johnny is starting a war with them, and to top it all off, Johnny's own son becomes a student of Miyagi-Do. For a moment it seems like they can patch things up when Daniel offers Johnny a car for his cousin torching his, which is when we get the new badass looking car for the franchise with the Dodge Challenger, and one of my favorite moments from the show.
Here. There you go.
You like Speedwagon?
What kind of man doesn't? But if you don't like it, I mean...
No. It's all right.
I don't believe it, not for a minute. You're under the gun, so you're taking on the run.
Hey, pull over.
And then they get a few drinks together. When they go to Daniel's house for a friendly sparring match, Johnny sees Robbie, and just like Miguel, drunkenly attacks Daniel right away. I wonder where Miguel learned that one from, but storms out when he sees his own son defending Daniel. You can just see the defeated look on Johnny's face when he sees that he's not only pushed his girlfriend, but his son into the arms of Daniel. Though this doesn't stop Daniel from losing his mind too, when finding out that he's taken his arch-rival's son under his tutelage, and screaming at Robbie to never show his face around his family again. Everything really boils over in the last episode though when we finally arrive to the 2018 All-Valley Tournament. We really see how angry all four, Daniel, Johnny, Miguel, and Robbie are at this point, with Daniel barely showing up to the All-Valley Tournament. Luckily he shows up just in time, not only for the Cobra Kai's entrance, but for Robbie to show up fighting, though not under any dojo name, and the All-Valley Tournament is a joyride to experience. From the very first fight, we see how Johnny isn't here to play and openly mocks Daniel by having Miguel do a crane kick on his first opponent, which leans for Daniel not only in the fact that it shows Miguel is just as good as he was at that age and that Robbie will have an issue, but it also shows how Johnny has very little respect for Mr. Miyagi by stealing the move while having Miguel use as an early on style like a finisher.
And face me, pal. Face each other, pal. Ready? And fight!
We see the other Cobras fight, though some don't defend as well as others, and even though Aisha does well, we see how disappointed she is in herself when losing her matchup, or how aggressive Hawk is in his. And Hawk really gets to shine in this tournament. He seems to be whooping ass and taking names. Hawk's highlight fight is his match against Robbie, especially because they mirror the fight between Bobby and Daniel, but at least in that fight you can tell Daniel does the illegal leg shot under Kreese's advisory. Bobby didn't want to do the kick and be kicked out of the tournament, and it is clear that from the second Bobby injures Daniel, that Bobby regrets it.
Gentlemen, see? Fight! Knock him out, Daniel! Daniel, I'm sorry! I'm sorry! I didn't mean it! I'm sorry!
Hawk, on the other hand, takes a shot at Robbie's shoulder out of pride, not out of Johnny's direct orders, but from the mindset that Johnny's lessons have put in him. You see how angry Johnny is about this, but Hawk just says he couldn't act like a pussy. Johnny is now realizing that he's putting his students down the same path that he went on, whether he is meaning to or not. And even though Robbie and Hawk's fight was supposed to be a reflection of Bobby's fight with Daniel, Hawk shares the most with Dutch, the most aggressive Cobra in the den, waiting and willing to fight anybody at any time to let their anger out. Hell, Dutch is the only main Cobra from the original film in prison by the time the show starts, so that should say something about where Hawk's road might lead him if he stays on it. But the injury doesn't seem to be as bad as Daniel's, with them teasing a Mr. Miyagi healing scene only for them to bring in a nurse to wrap Robbie's shoulder. And even though we get a lot of homages throughout the first season, my favorite has to be when the announcers find out that Robbie is going to be fighting under Daniel's coaching during the final round.
Bobby King, undefeated. Daniel LaRusso's gonna coach? Daniel LaRusso is gonna coach!
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment we've been waiting for. The present day. Daniel LaRusso is gonna fight? Daniel LaRusso is gonna fight! Now isn't this
Miguel and Robbie have a very exciting fight too, with Miguel having the upper hand due to Robbie's injury, but Robbie still holding his own, fighting with focus instead of anger and power. Though I still don't understand how Robbie is fighting against any of these people in the tournament though, maybe because it was clear that Daniel already had minor lessons in karate when the original began, and that he was jumped on the Halloween dance night, so the following days when him and Mr. Miyagi went to Kreese's dojo and make the deal about the All Valley tournament. And the All Valley tournament was taking place on December 19th of 1984, so that meant Daniel had from near the end of October to more than halfway past December to train. It gave him 2 months to train at max if you want to stretch it. But in Cobra Kai, the Halloween dance happened by episode 3, and Robbie really didn't start his training until episode 7, and near the end of that episode, he's already used his move to defend himself, though he still loses against the 2 goons he used to associate with. I understand that in the original Mr. Miyagi even states, not about the quantity of what you know, but the quality of what you know, but I have to believe that Robbie would know less than Daniel at this point, especially since Daniel didn't even know that Robbie was going to compete until the tournament was starting, so Daniel would have no reason to believe that he would have to teach Robbie a good amount of moves in the extreme amount of short time that he would have had to train. It makes more sense of why Robbie is such a good fighter by the second season, but I can't believe that Robbie is almost, if not as good as Daniel when he was a kid, maybe even better than him as an adult with that one-handed kick. But with less time to train than Daniel had in the original and less knowledge of karate to begin with, due to Robbie having no interest in the subject because of his father's history of the sport, it just doesn't work for me. For me, this can be chalked up as rush writing on the writers due to having the season being more than half over by the time Robbie starts training. Of the quality of what he knows, Robbie has handled himself well against Miguel, even with the injury. Robbie performs a move that Daniel and Mr. Miyagi have never been able to pull off in their life. Even though it's a little Gary Sue-ish, the execution and payoff for the moment is done extremely well, so I'll give it a pass as a Karate Kid fan. But once Miguel sees that he has a weak spot, he strikes hard and fast, exploiting Robbie's shoulder injury. He is showing no mercy and giving no chance to win with honor. Johnny tries to fix his mistake by telling Miguel not to attack his shoulder and to win fair, but it's too late and Miguel decides himself to go down the same path as Johnny as he attacks the injury and scores the final point. Miguel wins the championship, which I think is the only logical way to conclude the All Valley tournament. Ultimately, me and Johnny finally won the All Valley once again, just like he always wanted, but at the cost of being further apart from his son as ever, and feeling just ashamed of himself for letting his own students down the same ways he taught. And this is what I meant by the show as being a show about who men are and who they can become, either good or bad. The second season of the show more focuses on the path these kids are on now, unlike the first, which is more focused on the path they'll choose to travel on. Especially when we see how Kreese will join the Cobras the next season and the dynamic that leaves in store for Johnny and his students. The first season is just so magically crafted, and not just for the characters, but with all the crucial elements to make a good Karate Kid story. The fight scenes throughout the first season are shot so well, they are always able to place the camera in a position that shows the entire fight scene without too many cuts throughout it. Not only that, the fight scenes do what every good fight scene should do, which is develop the character as they fight. When you see Johnny do the high kick in his first fight back in the franchise, you see how this washed up has-been is genuinely surprised he pulled that move off again, or you see how Miguel grows confidence when he stands up to Kyler in front of the whole school and catches his fist. You even see how well the show pulls off the one-handed kick with Robbie, with them setting it up just like they did the crane kick, except this time with Robbie doing his cool kid skater act, or for it to be used to show the development between the student and teacher. Even the comedy, which is amped up a lot more than the original did, works so well for this new tone and setting, with Cobra Kai being one of the funniest shows I've watched in the last 5 years. Johnny's inability to open up his mind and be PC around other people allows for moments to get a good laugh at his character's expense.
I really like these bananas.
They're called plantains.
Oh. In English, we call them bananas. What's so funny?
Or when Miguel first meets Dimitri, our loser voice of reason, and they discuss the social hierarchy between him and the popular girls.
Portray yourself. Those are the rich girls.
Did you ever talk to them, or?
Oh, yeah, all the time. We hang out after school, make out, give each other hand jobs. Now, Eli here's the homecoming king. Gets laid more than anyone. Isn't that right, Eli? Talk to them? You realize what table you're sitting at, right? You pretty much signed away all hopes of losing your virginity before college.
The show is so self-aware of the era the original source material comes from that it's able to respect it so well while poking fun at it. Though where I really think Cobra Kai shines outside of its characters when they're paying homage to the original series before it, the whole show feels more like an 80s movie than movies that were made to feel like they were shot in the 80s, and I feel like they're able to do this with the way they incorporate rock music. I swear, they put banger after banger in the show. They start off the show with Nothing But a Good Time by Poison, setting the tone for the show while having the song express how Johnny's life is going at the moment.
Hey!
Or another great example is Commuter's Young Hearts, which plays not only in Sam and Miguel's date scene in Cobra Kai, but also the makeup scene between Daniel and Ali in the original film too. Just look up the soundtracks on Spotify, you won't be disappointed. I know some of you might find this lazy, but I love all the foil and mirrored scenes they had in this first season. My heart lit up when I saw Miguel and Sam went to golf and stuff for their first date. Not only that, the show is able to incorporate these moments because they make sense within the world building, which makes it feel satisfying and earned. The first season will have a lot of scenes framed and set up the same way, with a different outcome than the original, have it contrast enough to be its own, and I think that works very well. It will always be more entertaining and satisfying watching Cobra Kai adapt a scene from the '84 film than let's say the 2010 remake, and I think that's so important. They never lose the 80s feeling with the second season either, maybe even amping up just a little bit more, which I love. Hell, I love the whole second season, with the comedy being just as funny and the fight scenes being shot and choreographed even better than the first time around. They also take the logical step in taking who these people have become and building on that foundation. And well, with Kreese joining the picture,
That the real story's only just begun.
Try to make it last. Nothing you can do.